IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
This is Storytellers and Storysellers live on tape. You're listening to me, Vineet Kanabar, on the IVM Podcast Network. This is Indie India Month. On this show, all of August, we're talking to wonderful indie musicians who are making their mark on the music front in India. Where else would they make their mark? Huh? Please say hello to Zephyrtone. I'm very, very glad to be joined by Sayan and Zephyr on this show. Zephyrtone, for those of you who do not know, are one of the youngest and fastest rising electronic acts, comprising of producer and vocalist duo Sayan and Zephyr. They grew up listening to a lot of pop and electronic music and were influenced by artists like Avicii, Zedd, Cruella. Their journey started when they were making cover remakes of their favorite artists, but now they've released a bunch of awesome music. Their track Younger is climbing fast on Spotify and other streaming apps as well. Sayan, Zephyr, welcome to the show. So glad to have you guys here. Thank you for making the time. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
All good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice to be talking to you, to young musicians always. Let me get you started by asking you exactly about that. A lot of places that I read press about Zephyrtone, right? Talks about you being young or being kids. How do you take to being called kids, first of all? You can be completely candid.
People think getting experience and experienced in music, it takes a lot of time, like around 30 years, 40 years. So that's not what we think, because music is something like, it's like it comes from within. You don't really need experience for that.
Right.
I mean, you really don't need to be old for music. Like, it's very natural. It comes from within, and it's nothing to be forced or yeah.
I agree with you guys. I mean, when I was young, and I can say that now, I'm like going on 34 in September. When I was young, I felt the same way, right? When I had a small band at that time, way back. I'm from Nagpur, like I mentioned before the show, right? And I used to sing in a band, and we used to play music that my parents, or at least anybody around us at that time, didn't really understand, right? And they'd be like, "Bacche hain, baja rahe hain," whatever. And now I see people who would play music with us at that time go ahead and have like full-fledged careers in music, and they are sought-after musicians themselves. So I feel like the world makes this mistake of calling young musicians kids. You're certainly not kids. You might be young, for sure, right? Everybody is young at a certain point in time. But especially in a time where 22, 23-year-olds are CEOs of $1 billion company, who's a kid and who's young anymore, right? I think age doesn't get the respect it deserves. I did a full episode about this with someone who runs a company called Under 25. I mean, listeners, you should check it out. It's an episode called Talking About My Generation with Anto Philip. But back to Zephyrtone. Guys, I checked out your music. I was so pleasantly surprised. I can't even begin to tell you. My wife and I keep listening to new music almost all the time, right? We're obsessed with finding new music. And I shared your music with her, and she loves it as well. Tell me a little bit about your music, right? Where does it come from? How did you guys come up with the sound that you really have? Give me like a whirlwind tour of Zephyrtone over the past 3 or 4 years and where you're at right now.
Like, we started back in 2016, and we had the same music taste. So
what do you mean same music taste? Like what kind of music?
I mean, like pop music. We loved pop music and new evolving music, like electronic and all, like EDM. So we got together and we decided to form this duo. Back in 2016, we started. We started with like covers. Like we didn't write originals at that time, because she was still pursuing her Western classical music, and we were still learning, and slowly we started making our originals, and that's how the thing came along.
Right. So Zephyr, you did professional training in music? Both of you did? Or how did that come up?
I did my bachelor's in Western classical music, like in Pune. Yeah, and that's And San, what did you do? Just
Like
let the crowd know.
I did my Indian classical back when I was 5 years old.
Oh,
Like
wow.
for 5 years,
Right.
so like 5 to 10 years of age. And after that, anyways, I was from a musical background. My parents are like, my mom is a singer. My dad is he plays Congo and synthesizers and all.
Mhm.
So
Oh, wonderful, dude. So you got like
that's where I got music from.
wonderful. So you got like Western classical on one side, Indian classical on the other side. Very cool, man. What do you guys play? So can you tell me what you play, what instruments you play overall, or what you learning?
She plays the synthesizer, and like I used to play harmonium, but not right now. But as of now, like I play a MIDI for the music production and
Of course.
stuff.
Right.
I'm not a pro in playing instruments, but I know how to program them on Ableton and stuff.
Right. And are you more self-taught that way, Sam?
Yeah, I'm self-taught, and YouTube is my guru.
Wonderful. YouTube is my guru as well on so many things, right? Like all the information that you get comes from there. Let me ask you a little bit more about your Pune days, and we'll start with Zephyr, right? You were at a DJing school in Bombay, and then you met in Pune. Give me a little bit of background here. Like what happened over those years?
So we were in a DJing school in Mumbai for 2 months, and then we planned on taking it further. Like we went around hunting for jobs in Mumbai itself. At that time, it was around 2013, and then we were like, "Come, let's go. Let us do this together." And right after that, like we didn't get any, like we didn't get any jobs at that time.
What kind of jobs are you looking for in music? Like jobs in music?
Yeah, I mean DJing jobs and performing in clubs and pubs. They didn't allow us because we were underage that time.
We were underage.
So they didn't let us perform or get inside the clubs.
We were babies. And,
not babies, like underage.
No. I mean, of course, right. But how did that make you feel at that time? Like, did it make you feel like, okay, I'm gonna go?
I mean, that phase was, really frustrating because they didn't want to see our talent at all.
Right.
They were like, "You're too young now. You can't get inside the clubs and all. How can we take you? How can we hire you or book you for the event?" That was the thing.
That phase was really frustrating. But yeah, we eventually got over that. And then I moved to Pune. I had to, start off with my college and stuff. And then San was like, I'm coming. I'm following you. I'm coming too. So yeah, that's how we started. And yeah, we dated and we started our music careers. That's how we did, yeah. And nothing fancy.
Oh, no, not yet. But tell me a little bit more about that, right? Like, how did you guys decide? Okay, let me back up. You're looking for gigs in music and trying to express yourself musically on stage and perform for people, right? And I mean, that's one of the most rewarding feelings for early musicians, right? When you're starting your career out, you hear, whatever it is. I mean, I played gigs for 20 people. I played gigs for 1,000 people. Whatever number you see them play there, I mean, enjoy your music. That's sort of the early validation you get, right? You're like, hey, what I'm making, someone else is enjoying, and that's why I'm making it, right? But you're not getting the chance to do that. People are looking at your age, not really at your music output. Yet you decide to go ahead and form a band together, right, or duo together. In that sense, just talk me through what was going through your head at that time. Were you like, I'm going to prove them wrong, or were you like, no, I really know my shit. I know my music is good. I know what we can create is amazing. We're just going to practice that and believe in that. Like, what was your state of mind? What were you thinking when you started out in 2016?
Like, we wanted to prove everybody wrong. That was the first thing.
Such a great motivation that is.
We kept on trying for like few years. Then in 2016, that's when the things started happening, because we got a call from a management in Delhi. That's a current management, WMS.
Right.
They tried us for couple of college events. So we started from there, from Delhi. We started in performing in Delhi. Which was that college? GD Goenka.
Right.
That was our first campus gig. and things started picking up since then.
Right.
Things escalated since then.
And when did you start feeling like, hey, all of this is just going to work out? I mean, was getting management on board a big decision for you guys in that direction, or were you like, no, even if we don't have management, we're going to still figure this out come what may?
No. Getting a management was like really important, because people don't take you seriously until you have a proper management, because they are gonna deal for the things on behalf of you.
Right.
So
right.
That's a backup.
Right. And when you started getting management, like, what was the next step for you guys? Right. You saw management helped you. You got a college gig. How did you then start thinking of sort of bringing your music together? What were you beginning to play at that time, and where did you see that your music progressing from there? I mean, what was your thought process?
So after we got signed to our management, so we got a push to release original music, because to be very honest, before stepping into this, we really didn't know any other aspect other than making music.
Right.
We didn't know there's a lot of PR, there's a lot of promotion that happens behind the scenes. So that's where our management helped us, and we started releasing our own originals.
Mhm.
We got the push, and from 2016 we released our first EP. That was the industry guys liked it, and after that there were a few singles
Mhm.
which got 10 million views on Facebook and 80,000 shares. So that's where we skyrocketed.
Right. And how did that make you feel?
It was yeah.
It was, it motivated us, of course. We wanted to make more, and, we wanted a bigger audience. We were targeting for a bigger audience, and, we didn't want the music to be so complex. We wanted to keep it simple, be it the lyrics, be it the music, be it the composition, be it whatever. We wanted, wanted people to relate to our music. We wanted everyone to understand. So that's how we wanted it to be simple. In short.
Lovely.
So that's how we wanted it to be, and we thought, no, we aren't stopping here. We are, no matter what, we are going to make more. We are going to release more of it, and we are going to build that audience. We are going to build a community who listens to our music. Yes. So that's how we got a push.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit more about where this music comes from. I love the way you said with so much clarity, right? We don't want it to be too complex, want it to be simple, want it to be relatable, but still it's got a very unique sound, right? It's not like a sound that's very common in at least the Indian indie soundscape as well, right? Sure, you have some musicians in that space, but how did you then proceed to build your sound? What aspects of it did you intentionally keep simple? Where did you experiment? Give me the lowdown on that.
I mean, there's no specific genre that we follow.
Mm-hmm.
We mostly follow the young guys from the Western, pop industry. There's Justin Bieber, there's Khalid, and there's Kid Leroy. So we kind of take inspirations from them, and that's how we created our sound. Mm-hmm. As of now. Mm-hmm. Earlier we used to listen to Avicii, Cruella, as you said, and so their songs are not complex. Neither the music is complex. It's very easy to understand, and the hook, it gets inside your head for a long time. So that's how we make music.
Fantastic.
And keep it very simple.
Fantastic. And where do your lyrics come from?
My past experiences, because I am obsessed with, emotional love songs. I love writing love songs, and it's all from my past experiences. Yes. And we are never while composing music, we are never we need to kill this song right away. We need to get this many million views. We're going to do this. We're going to make it that way. We're going to make this happen. It just happens naturally,
Right.
It's a very fun process. So yes, we don't think, we don't think much about it. It just goes with the flow.
Right.
It comes naturally.
I think given the kind of training that you both have, right, with your music school, music training, I think your intuition is trained in a certain way to create what you're looking to create, right? Am I right in saying that you don't need to put a lot of thought into it or a lot of construction into it? Your practice and training allows you to create stuff in the simple manner that you want. Am I right in saying that?
Like, my training helped me understand the basics of music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't really follow any rules.
Right.
So, and we just go with the flow, and we love what we make, and there's nothing. I mean, there are no boundaries.
Right.
We don't follow any rules. That's what the thing is.
And especially most important, we want our music to be therapeutic, you know.
Right.
You know, I want it to be a therapy. We want it to be a therapy. We want people to, you know, feel calm in that moment while listening to our music. That's what is our main goal.
Wonderful. You guys talked about creating music and a little bit about your process. Can you talk me through how you guys came up with Younger? Younger is the song, right?
Yeah, the recent one.
The recent one, yeah. Can you tell me how you came up with that song? How that song was born and how it was released and how people responded to it? Zephyr, we'll start with you.
Yes, you know, I have a real good story behind this. I had been reminiscing my old good childhood days, and I was feeling really blue. You know, I wanted to switch to something different, like this time.
Not a love song this time.
Right.
Yeah, so we have been writing love songs all the while. So I thought, okay, why not write something different? Like, you know, I've been reminiscing my childhood days. I miss my young days, you know, when I was a kid. So I thought of writing something new this time, music-wise, composition-wise, production-wise, lyrics-wise. So yeah, this is how we started with the project.
Mm-hmm. And
we took a feature on board.
Mm-hmm.
It was EPR, and he did a great job with his lyrics. Though I don't understand the pure Hindi lyrics.
Right.
Very complex.
Very complex, huh?
But I think it's a damn good verse that he's giving you guys there.
Yes, of course.
We actually got to know about him from the show MTV Hustle. Like,
right.
He did a really great job out there.
Oh, wonderful. So first time I've heard someone say they got someone from MTV Hustle. That's an interesting.
I don't like the others. Like, he's a bit like our type, kind of like melodious also, and I mean, not filthy lyrics or something very aggressive,
which is happening right now in the Indian rap industry.
Yeah, I think.
To be very honest, to be very brutally honest, in fact.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a whole movement towards very aggressive rap, which is just aggressive for aggressive's sake. Not aggressive because it's based in like experience, or aggressive because like the early 90s rap, which is aggressive because hey, their experiences from the streets and stuff like that. This is just aggressive for aggressive's sake, which is also fun. I mean, I won't say it's not fun, right? Like if you hear something like Sidhu Moosewala and Divine on Moose Drilla, I don't know if you guys are fans, but that's aggressive for a lot of fun, right? Like a bravado is fun. But coming back to you guys, is this the first time you had a rapper on a song?
No. It's the third time, I guess.
Right.
Third time, right?
Yeah, third time.
What were the first two times?
The first time was like For Only You. It was the first ever single, and which got 10 million views on Facebook, and that's what that was the best release ever. And
right.
for the second time, we took on board an American rapper from New York, and like he did a really great job with his verse on the track Anybody Out There. That's a personal favorite too, and this one is the third one.
Wonderful. Can I ask you guys to perform a little bit of Younger for us on this?
You may sing.
Yeah.
You can give her a beat, maybe.
I think I've forgotten the lyrics. What the dude? I was so lost. Wait.
When I was young, I used to run wild with all my friends underneath the blue skies. Seasons changed, played in the rain, hoping that the clouds would carry me away. I didn't worry about nothing. 'cause there was no one to judge me. Life was pretty amazing. Everybody used to love me. When I was young, when I was younger, when I was young, when I was younger, when I was young, when I was younger.
Beautiful.
I wish EPR was there too.
Yeah, we would have had him do the rap. That's such a catchy refrain, man. I really love that song. Thank you for that impromptu performance. I love putting young people on the spot like this. We will be back with Zephyrtone on Storytellers and Storysellers right after these messages.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into A Show About Crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM Podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Back on Storytellers and Storysellers, we're talking to Cyan and Zephyr from Zephyrtone. It's been a wonderful first part of the conversation. We had Zephyr impromptu perform part of their recent song, Younger. I want to ask you guys about your music videos, guys. How do you put them together? And how do you see the art of music videos slightly different from your music? How does that process come together? Zephyr?
First up, we pull references from different music videos, and then we proceed on to making the video. Like we do everything from scratch, like be it the mood board, be it the direction, everything, because we have a tight budget for this, so we need to be very cautious. And yeah, that's how, like, what do I say?
All we can afford right now is like just the videographer and the editing part of it.
Yes,
That's wonderful, man.
That's what we don't do. We do everything on our own, like the direction, the angles and settings, everything. Like,
right.
we teach the videographer how to do it. Actually.
yeah, we teach the videographer how to do it
That's so
for
cool.
music videos.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you put it up with your own money, and the budget is all yourself as well. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, everything.
That's super indie, man. That's very cool. Tell me this: what's the favorite part of the kind of reaction you're getting from your fans or people who check out your music? What's the best kind of reactions you've gotten so far?
I mean, they are really astonished that we pull off something like this with our own money and
in a low budget,
low budget.
So
And emotionally, what kind of reactions are you getting? What do people say they feel when they check out your music or your music videos?
Like, people connect to our music. Like, they have sent messages and DMs on Instagram saying that our music has helped them recover from COVID recently.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's right. And we do video calls with our followers. And it's very inspiring. They say that you guys inspire us a lot. And we just can't explain how that makes us feel. It makes us feel on top of the world. Like young people, the young generation, how inspired they are. And they say that, wow, continue.
That's so cool.
That's all.
Let me ask you this, right? I know you guys are big on Instagram, and Instagram and social media is such an important part of being a creator and an artist out there, right? I mean, as much as your Spotify or your streaming platforms are important, it's also important that there's a lot of people following you on social as well, right? And while obviously being young creators, you do such a great job on Instagram, I've noticed that you have a WhatsApp strategy to connect with your fans, right? There's a phone number on which people can send you messages, and I think you do like video calls on WhatsApp with your fans as well. That's super cool, and I've never seen artists being that accessible to their fans. Tell us about that. Yeah, how did you come up with that, and how's that working for you?
I think we really believe in being down to earth. Yeah, down to earth is one of the things that our followers love about us, and that's what we follow. And that has helped us to connect with our fans on a personal level. So I feel it's very important, with social media being all over the place. We personally feel like we need to go ahead, like some people, they just act like only with like 1,000 likes, they'll be like, oh, I didn't see your message. Like, they'll be like, I haven't seen your message. Like, I can't see your message. They act all big all around. But I think that's a very wrong thing. You need to be, what do you say?
Down to earth.
I mean, we can take some time out for our fans. Anyways,
Yes.
it's not a big thing.
When they are giving us so much, I think we need to give them back too.
I absolutely love that thought. Yeah, I really like it so much because it's one of those things that a lot of artists sometimes forget. I used to work at a company a few years ago that used to care a lot about their fans, right? And we would do again and again do these things where our artists could meet the fans could come into our office and talk to us and stuff like that. And that connect is so important. I think you guys are doing a great job by having WhatsApp at the center of your strategy. I want to ask you, what do people ask you when they video call you? What do they say?
Firstly, like they can't believe.
They're like, huh? Is it for real? Is it for real? We're talking to Zephyr Tone. We haven't come across such artists. Like, we have never come across such artists. You all are so kind. You all are so nice. Like, they can't believe. At times, they are like, huh? Is it like, at times they literally shake, They start shivering and and shit like that. Yes. And we kind of feel awkward at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're also learning how to react to those fans who have such an emotional reaction to meeting you.
Yes.
Tell me this, who would be someone that like a musician that you follow or musician that you like that you would like to video call? Sayan, I'll start with you.
I'd like to personally video call Martin Garrix because he is one of my inspirations personally. What about you, Zephyr?
I have a list of people, of artists that I like, but I personally would like to go with Kid Laroi. He's a very, I just love his voice and I'd like to video call him, yes.
Yeah. And what would you guys ask them?
Please collab.
Yes.
But straight to the point. Hey, Martin, when are you collabing with us, man? What's happening? Yo, kid, you want to drop a guest verse on my track? That's wonderful, man. Great. Let me ask you this about your backgrounds a little bit, right? Sayan, you told me you're a Bengali who's never lived in Bengal. Zephyr, you're from Siliguri, but of mixed descent. Tell me how this strong lineage. First of all, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and your lineage a little.
You start.
You start.
So
you guys are so cute, man.
So like my mother, like she insisted me to join a music class when I was 5 years old. Indian classical. So I got a really good teacher, like who took care of me, who was a real guru for me. She taught me all about music, the basics. She taught me how to play harmonium and all. So that's where my musical journey started, and ever since I've been like into music some way or the other, playing the harmonium or composing music throughout my life.
And you have been a vocalist too. Why don't you add that up?
Yeah, I was a vocalist.
Why don't you, Sayan? Why don't you add that in?
Not now. I've not been singing. It's been a long time.
But why? I mean, is that something that you consciously took a call saying, hey, no, I want to focus on creating and not singing?
Yeah. That's what. Like I'm focusing more on composing music rather than singing because I feel like my compositions are much better than my voice.
That's so humble of you.
That's what I feel.
How about you, Zephyr?
Okay, I come from a very a musical background. My dad was into a lot of rock music, and I grew up listening to a lot of Guns N' Roses, Queen. So that's how I wanted to get into music. I used to sing with my dad. Yes, and
Wonderful.
now he's no more though.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, that has left impact on me. And yes, my dad was my musical inspiration, I must say.
That's so nice of you. Both of you can trace back your musical journeys to your parents. How does that come through? I mean, do you guys take elements of what they gave you in legacy and does it come out in your music? Are there any examples of that?
I mean, my music has taught me to become punctual.
Really?
And yeah, punctual, and something that sounds beautiful is good to go. We don't follow any rules or any boundaries, because boundaries like that sort of creates a barrier in your
Right.
composition.
Right.
So
That's very nice to hear. To round off our conversation today, on each episode, we do something called Water with Vineet. I feel like it's the best kind of segment to have, right? To ask you some really snappy, quick questions that maybe we don't know about. Gives us a little bit more information about you guys, right? So my first question on Water with Vineet is, what has been the nicest review you've gotten so far?
I mean, there are so many reviews. I'm just mixing it up. Do you remember?
That's when you know you're good, right? I don't even remember the good reviews. I'm so good. I mean, I'm joking. That's cool, man. Which city do you guys love most? Bombay, Pune, or Calcutta?
Kolkata.
Really? Why?
Food.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
food.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cheap
true.
food and good food.
That's true. Also very slow though. Like Kolkata's got its own sort of different pace at which life is going on, right? Bombay, Pune are still. Pune with its sort of young energy. Bombay is just insane. But Kolkata works at its own pace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we love that. I mean, it doesn't get to us. We love that slow pace.
Right. Right.
And we don't live in the city actually.
Right.
It's kind of it's a remote area outside the city, because we don't like crowded places and all. So
Great. My next question to you on Water with Vineet is, what are the biggest challenges you faced as young musicians? And maybe you can give me one each, right? You already talked about how people look at your age more than your output, but tell me some more, right? Challenges as young musicians. We'll start with you, Sayan.
like it was difficult for us initially because of the finance thing, because financially it was like just on us. We didn't take any help from our parents. Like, we want money for this, we want money for a music video, we want money for the press shoot. So it was all on us. When we started earning, we started investing in our music alongside.
It's very
So
level-headed of
that
you,
was that was pretty difficult for us, because earning was like not that much. It was like thoda. It was a bit difficult for us, investing in such huge amounts for PR and promotions and music videos. Because it takes a budget anyways. The video editor or the person who's shooting has to hire a camera, and there's a sort of like 20 to 30K budget involved in it initially.
Right.
So that's what we face.
Do you like call in favors from friends, or you're like, no, hey, you're working with me, we want to pay you, and that's how it's going to be?
No. It was never like that. We paid everybody on time and stuff. So
I love it. Brilliant. What about you, Zephyr? Challenges that you face, maybe performing or creating music?
The only challenge I face is doing interviews, and because I'm a very shy girl. I'm always quiet. I don't talk much. I'm a woman of very few words. Like, I'm always zipped up. I watch more. I talk very less. I listen more. I talk very less. So it's like people say it's a disadvantage. They say talk more. You're in the industry. Then I say, No, please. I don't want to talk. I just want to work and show my thing through my music. I don't want to talk. I don't know. Like I hardly talk. I hardly talk. I don't even talk to Sayan. I don't even talk to my lover, and I don't even talk to my own management. Like I'm very calm and composed all the time. So this is one challenging thing. Like I have to face a lot of people, because in the industry you have to face so many people, every day. You need to go take calls, you need to go talk to everyone. When you're at a music festival, backstage in the green room, like you have to face everybody, and I have this social anxiety, I no, that's not a thing for me.
I'm sure it'll get better as you practice it, as with anything, right? As you practice, it gets better.
I
It will.
hope so.
I'm sure it will. Let me ask you this. What was your first festival experience like? Where was the first festival that you played? Not like a college gig. College gigs are great and everything, but a festival is a festival, right? What was the first time you played a festival?
It was back in 2016 itself, the first year when we started. We got to play in Sunburn Festival, which was happening in Pune.
Right. And how was that experience?
That was the first big festival, It was like, I was in a trauma. Like I didn't know what to do next, because it was so big for us, thousands of people right in front of us. And like, I was shaking, I was shivering, I was like, no, Sayan, please, I just can't. I don't think so I can perform. But once we got on stage, like it was a blast. The energy, the response of the people, I forgot everything. I forgot all of it. And I was just present in that moment. We are never going to forget that one, because
Lovely.
It's very special to us, It holds a very special place in our hearts. So yeah.
That's so lovely. All right. My last question to you guys, and to all my listeners, I'm so sorry we've been facing some mic issues. So while we will try and clean it up, and the great team at IVM will do all the magic that they do to make us sound great and everything, you might hear a little bit of disturbance. We're so sorry about that. We've been trying to figure it out, but technology, it's an evil master. My last question to you guys is, as young, expressive musicians who've got a little bit of success going for you and you're on your way to a brilliant career, can you give me one piece of advice each that you would have for your fellow young musicians?
Practice. Like practice is the key. Time speaks for itself. You need to wait for your turn. That's what I'd say.
Now that's very wise. Shan?
I'd like to say the same thing. I'd like to add.
No. You can't copy her homework. Come on now. You have to give me something.
I'd like to say that you can't have things overnight. It's going to take time. If you don't wait, if you can't wait, if you are not keen on waiting, this thing is not for you. The music line, the entertainment line, it's not for you. If you can't wait, if you can't give time, that's the main thing.
Lovely. What I'm hearing is, you got to probably wait your turn, and you've got to use that time while you're waiting for your turn to practice and become better at what you want to do, right?
Exactly.
Love it, guys. Love it. I couldn't think of a better way to spend an hour on Saturday. Thank you guys so much for making time, and despite our technical challenges and despite your general aversion to talking about your music, I'm so glad you spent this hour with me telling us about Zephyrtone and about your careers. I hope you had fun despite your social anxiety.
Yes.
I'm so glad.
Though Sayan and I were sweating though.
That's probably summer in Calcutta, no?
That's a summer humidity,
too
but
humid.
yeah, we are quite nervous all the time, nervy all the time. I don't know why. But people are like, are you guys really musicians? Because we have seen musicians really forward, keen on talking, keen on exposing themselves. No, then I say no. See, everyone's different. The five fingers are not the same.
Right.
We're a little composed and calm all the time, so it gets a little nervy for us. Yes.
No, but no one can tell. I think you guys did a fantastic job. I'm sure there are many, many more interviews in your future. All the best, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Saturday.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
That was Sayan and Zephyr from Zephyrtone, spending an hour with us talking music, young people and social anxiety. This has been another episode of Storytellers and Storysellers. It's the Indie India month on this podcast. Check out other episodes if you haven't so far. If you have and you liked something about them, let us know at IVM Podcasts or at Ashcharya Fuck It on all of your social media. This is me, Vineet Kanabar, saying goodbye.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Speakeasy, get a glimpse into the startup world, uncover interesting revelations about gaming and healthcare with Vishal Gondal, founder and CEO of Goki, and also host of the Vishal Gondal podcast on the IVM Network. On Aapka Paisa Vaisa, Vikram Shah teaches us how to invest internationally. Aiming for a spot at the Oscars, musician Sahil Bhargav introduces us to his world of animated storytelling on Storytellers and Storysellers. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav has started a new series, The Kashmir Diaries. Here we meet the last rosewater maker of Srinagar. And on The Fighting Goat, the hosts estimate the amount of money spent overall in MMA sports. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any other show for that matter, please do tell a friend. That's really helpful for us. And finally, we'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Siet Cred, Bank of Baroda, Intuit India, and CoinSwitch Kuber. We really do appreciate the support.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.